I grew up the middle of 5 kids, and I probably am the typical middle child. As far as what they say there, the conciliators, the ones who look for the positive. Also from a divorced family. So I think as the youngest child of the first family, I might have been the one who always wanted things to be good, and so always tried to look for, some way to be happy about whatever's going on. Not that I had a bad childhood, I didn't, but and I wasn't always like this. I would say you are also the product of divorce, and after that divorce is when I really started looking to live my life a better way, to be the kind of person I wanted to be. And I'll give credit to one of my friends who said she was going to a therapist, and I was in the middle of the divorce, or it's just over, I can't remember exact timing, but and I said, why are you going to a therapist? And she said, because I just want to live the best life I can. And I went, oh, a therapist will help you with that? and it wasn't so much that I didn't realize a therapist could help you live a better life, but that it just never occurred to me to intentionally take charge of my life. And I was in my 40s. And at that point, I just decided, well, if I can decide how to live my life, well then.
I think I've talked to you about this before, but I haven't specifically told them. But I think it's almost like a regional thing of what particular things you need to work on. But I feel like the thing that people have a problem with, at least the people I grew up around here, the main thing is that they were always pushing you down from anything that was deemed even slightly uncool. So it's like, oh, you want to be happy, or you're happy for no reason? That's so stupid. Like, I remember, like, there was, you look like you not understand what I'm talking about.
No.
No, I remember,
I did not mean that.
I remember, like, I was talking to my friend in high school. I was like, oh, man, I love going home and watching Digimon every day. And for some reason, it didn't even occur to me that wouldn't be cool to watch Digimon in high school. But he was like, what? And I was like, I like watching Digimon after school. It's like my favorite thing to do. Come home, you go use the bathroom, and then you eat cereal and watch Digimon. It's like sublime experience. And then he was like, God, it's like you just something to the effect of making me feel stupid for that. And I feel like that is it's like.
And you don't feel like people in other regions have that?
Maybe they do, but just for some reason, there's like this very like self-conscious, like Midwestern.
I think in general, at least in the United States, I have the feeling that, we always talking about we want to be individuals and we want to do that, but by golly, if you are going to be ostracized and you're going to be condemned.
Yeah, that is really weird. It's almost like, you know what I actually kind of think what it is that they want you to be an individual. Like, individualism is celebrated in the U.S., but after you cross a certain threshold, like, you can be in the pack here, and then in this median stage right here, where you're trying to be an individual, people will go in there, get beat down a little bit, and then come back into the group. You have to, like, it's like running through, like, a wall of Jell-O or something. You have to, like, get a lot of momentum and then push through it to the other side where you can be whoever you want to be. Do you think that was a satisfactory answer?
Yeah, I do think that's a satisfactory answer.
But to what he asked.
Yeah, well, I think you should talk a little bit about when you started, like, okay, I'm gonna be intentional with my life.
I think it was right before I started the vlog. Is when I broke up with my last girlfriend. I realized that how much I was worrying about what I say to make us fit,
Yeah.
Like, I would try to say the right things so that we would fit. And then just that experience of, like, not trauma, it's not that big of a deal, but the trauma of breaking up with somebody finally pushed me.
Trauma. That's real trauma.
Yeah, I guess so, but
that's real trauma.
It's finally pushed me over the edge to be like, yo, I have to make myself who I want to make myself and not care what anybody says about it. Like, I remember I used to ride my bike to the studio, and then I let specific people tell me that was unbecoming of a person of my age. I'm like, what on earth?
What?
Yeah, no, it's insane that it's insane, one, that anybody would say it, but two, that I would let that affect me. Like, it's comical to think about it now. But that was really the start of it. And I was like, no. Like, when you give yourself up, like when you give up who you are nothing. Like, you were just like a zombie. And
nobody's living your life.
Yeah.
Because you're living some life that somebody else has decided for you. Well, it's no wonder that so many people are like lonely or depressed or agitated or, violent or angry, resentful, all of those things. If you have a life to lead and you're not leading it, we only know for sure we have this one. Maybe we got others before and after, but we know we have this one.
Right.
And if you're not living it, of course you're going to be angry. Of course you're going to be resentful. Somebody else is always telling you what you should or shouldn't do, or that you shouldn't be happy. Like, I'm having a little bit of that kind of issue myself right now. That the struggles that and we've talked about in our podcast and other stuff about the struggles with the studio, with other things, and it's there. Occasionally, it pops into my mind that I don't have a right to be happy with all that going on, or that other people think I shouldn't be happy. And if I'm not acting miserable, then I must not be doing everything I can be doing to fix those situations. And I know that's not true. But occasionally it pops into my head, and I have to remind myself, no, I get to be happy no matter what the circumstances are. It is my right. It is my divine. The fact that I have a life gives me the right to be happy every moment, no matter what's going on, if I want to.
Yeah, no, I've been saying this recently, but you got to be self-righteous about your happiness, because people will try to take it away from you.
Yeah, you got to be militant. You got to be your own. You got to be a militant advocate for your happiness.
And it's not even like they'll try to take it away by what they do. They'll try to say that the circumstances you're in, you're not supposed to be happy.
Yeah,
it's like
that's because that's the programming, and you have to get out of the programming. I'm trying to think of a specific example, but
well, speaking of programming, let me read this next comment, because I think we can help. This vlog reminds me that every now and again, I'll see someone while I'm driving down the road or walking past someone at the store and have an intense urge to just stop and talk to them in depth about their life stories or hobbies, and generally just find out who they are. But he finds that he's too paralyzed about people thinking he's weird, or that he's nosy, or they'll be creeped out or something like that. And he wish he could just conquer that fear so he could connect with a stranger. And then he says it saddens him that we have lost that ability in our modern culture. So, how can we help him slowly ease out of that? Because, first of all, it's a physical response. So, I understand you think that you can just mind over matter, that type of thing, but that's, in my experience, very difficult. I don't know how you eventually get over the physical part of it, but your body is like literally in fight or flight mode, and
it is. You got adrenaline going, you got cortisol going. It's just telling you, stranger danger.
So I don't think the advice is to just do it anyway. That can be, in certain situations, I do think that works, where you're like, feel the fear, do it anyway. That might not be one of them.
It's not one of them for everybody. But in case it is for this person, I would like to actually advocate that a little bit. Lots of people are going to be creeped out. They're going to think you're weird. They're going to whatever. But often, once you start doing it, it's like cold call selling, which I had to be a salesperson for a while. I hated it. But the first book that I read was called No Bullshit Selling. I think I've told you about it before. Yeah. But basically, one of the techniques, well, first of all, they just said you have to be completely yourself. You have to be completely honest, because people see through bullshit selling. But one of the things was cold calling. And they were just like, okay, tomorrow you call 10 people. Even if you get them to talk, even if you just get them to talk about, the weather. But at least call 10 people, and if they don't want to talk to you, do it again the next day, do it again the next day. And the reason for that is because after a while, the physical part of it does go away. You're like, but you at each call you have to go, this is not a reflection on me personally. This is a reflection of their ability to handle strangers, which if you're feeling fight or flight, of course they are. They're not even the one approaching somebody. You're approaching them. You're entering into their life. But eventually, your fear will go away if you try that technique. Your fear will go away, and because you're calmer, we're sharing energy. People will feel this is a calm person. This is not a person who's stressed out. That may not be the way, but if it is, then go all in, and just remember that when someone rejects you, that is not a reflection of you. They don't even know you. How could they possibly have an opinion about you that would be accurate?
Yeah, no, it just
came out of the clear blue sky.
Actually, my initial advice that I had forgotten that I wanted to give was know going in, if you go talk to a stranger and this is not something you've done before, it could go badly. Just know that ahead of time. Be like, oh, this could go really badly. Let me, when I'm doing this, be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then don't let that deter me. Be like, okay, this one just went badly. So that way, if it does go like colossally bad, then afterwards you're not like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Like, oh, that was one of the outcomes that I expected. Let me check this off the list, and I will find out what other outcomes are available to me in talking to strangers.
Yeah, and don't shy away from things that are uncomfortable or even things that you dislike. Sometimes you just have to experience those things. Those are part of the experience of life, and you can decide. If it goes, quote, colossally badly, you can decide whether that's a bad thing or not. You can go, oh, I've had practice with someone who has no ability to talk to strangers, has no desire to talk to strangers. There's a lot, and every time you do it, it just gets easier and easier and easier.
This is true. Okay, so going back to after I broke up with my girlfriend, this is really weird. It's kind of funny.
It is funny.
This book is called Conversations with God. When I first met her, she recommended this book to me, and just at the time, for some reason, I read I used to read all the time. I haven't read in a long time.
The blog takes a long time.
Yeah, this was actually the last book that I read, I think, or this series. I read like all of them. Anyway, she recommended this book to me. I borrowed it from her. I had it for like a year. Never read it. This was the answer that I was looking for the whole time. Like, we talk about this, but I really think that certain people in your life are trying to teach you something that you want to learn. It's like, I will teach you this, you will teach me this, let's come together and let's learn this.
Yeah.
And she was trying to teach me how to be my own person.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before, and the easiest way to talk about it for me is to talk about Evan Almighty, that movie, because the wife is all upset with the husband, and so she leaves him, and then God's talking to her. She doesn't know it's God, and he says something she says, I just want to spend more time with my family, and I want to be compassionate. I want to be all these things. And he says, so if you think if you pray for time with your family, that your God or compassion, God just makes you compassionate, or does he give you opportunities to practice being compassionate? You want time with your family? Go build the ark and be compassionate with your husband. And the same thing, even just this conversation. If you really want to be more open with strangers, then put yourself in that position all the time. It's everything we do is practice. Everything gets easier with practice. And this is absolutely no different. When I took all those tests that tell you what, whether you're an extrovert, introvert, all that kind of stuff, in my past, I am always considered an introvert. And people who know me go, that doesn't sound right. But I am when I'm around new people. I am less and less of that as time goes by. As I've decided to live my life intentionally, I want to connect with other people. I might have written that comment to you a while back, asking the same question, because that was help that I needed. I don't fear it anymore, and I really feel like I can share my happiness, and even if my happiness doesn't take an immediate effect, it was given. So it may or may not have an effect that I know about, but somewhere in someone's life, somewhere, I hope that I've helped somebody just by being my friendly, happy self. Did I answer it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I hope so. If it didn't, let us know.
Yeah. Good luck.
Didn't you stop like we were over at 91st and Meridian? Didn't you stop and talk to somebody who was sitting at a bus stop?
What? What are you talking about?
Like just a year or two ago, maybe more than that. Time goes by really fast, but right after Beyond Your Best and you were trying to be more open. I could be making that up, but I thought and it didn't go well. Do you remember it?
I remember something.
Yeah, you told me about it, that you just decided to talk. Somebody, you were waiting for me or something.
I don't know. Oh, right, yeah. There was the bus driver, and I was just like, oh, hey, how's it going, bus driver, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't go well. I think that's the thing, is like, if you have a peak experience and you're like, I'm going to go talk to a stranger and it's going to be the best thing ever, just know they might not be having that peak experience as well. So they might not have just had this sudden revelation like, oh, I can talk to anybody and the world is an open and friendly place. No, you had that revelation. They are just the same old person they've always been.
That's right. Oh, but you might hit somebody like that. But in any event, it's not life or death. It's an experience. And that's really all we can do here, is have experiences.
Yeah.
And they won't all be, quote, pleasant. But they'll all be good because they are an experience. They teach you things. They help you connect in ways that you didn't connect before. They help you be yourself. And I think the worst thing that you can do is when you really feel an urge. Something is doing that.
Yeah, no, it's like in middle school and high school. I told you about this one. How many days did I plot how I was going to talk to Sarah Robinson? Just every single day. I was like, I'm gonna talk to her. I'd lie in bed in the morning and be like, today's the day. Never happened. Like, if it was now.
And for all you know, she was laying in her bed. God, I'd really like to talk to Robby. I'd really like to talk to Robby.
I don't think so. I don't think she knew who I was. But
Well, she would have if you talked to her.
This is true.